The grueling party with my friends had lasted longer than I expected, so I was greeted by deep night on my way home. As I drove through the dense forest, my car's headlights barely illuminated the narrow strip of asphalt. I tried to entertain myself by turning on the radio, but the static-laden voices of the announcers only added to my sense of loneliness. Suddenly, in front of me, I saw a man standing on the curb waving his arms. He was a middle-aged man in a shabby coat with a small bag in his hand. Without thinking, I pulled up next to him, hoping to make the ride more interesting with some conversation. After making sure he was on his way, the stranger got into the car and we continued on our way. Soon he introduced himself as Mike and told us about his job as a truck driver. He was on his way home from a long haul. I listened half listening, focused on the road, until his stories became increasingly strange and frightening. He talked about how he once gave a ride to a homicidal maniac who nearly slit his throat, about ghosts on the highways at night, and about mysterious disappearances of people in roadside motels. I swallowed nervously and gripped the wheel tighter. After about 10 minutes, Mike asked me to pull over. I was a little taken aback by the request because it was a long way from town and the woods around me were pitch black. However, my travel companion noticed my reaction and said he needed to find a secluded area for a moment. I had to pull over to the side of the road. My passenger got out of the car and disappeared behind the trees. 5 minutes later, a sinking feeling crept into my soul that Mike was not coming back. I wanted to get out of the car and call out to the missing man, but suddenly a shadow flashed in the headlights, and the next moment the door on my side swung open. Mike was coming at me, a knife glinting in his hand. A desperate struggle ensued. I tried to fight off my attacker, who seemed to have gone insane. By some miracle, I was able to wrestle the knife from his hand and push Mike out of the car. I slammed the door, started the engine, and drove away at full speed. I drove the rest of the way in a kind of daze, glancing in the rearview mirror every now and then. And only when the lights of the city loomed ahead did I calm down and slow down a little. At home, locked up, I could finally catch my breath. My hands shook as I dialed the police number. The officer on duty listened attentively to my rambling story and promised to send a unit to the scene. I didn't sleep all night, replaying in my head the terrible events of the previous evening. In the morning, the investigator called and said that they had found an abandoned bag on the side of the road with bloody clothes and documents with different names inside. It turned out that my traveling companion was on the federal wanted list. A lot of time has passed since then, but I no longer pick up hitchhikers, especially after dark. After all, you never know who might be next to you in the confined space of a car in the middle of the woods at night. It was almost 11 o'clock at night, and I was quite tired after a busy workday. I was the last one leaving the office. After saying goodbye to the security guard, I walked across the deserted parking lot to my car. The moon had risen high above the horizon, its gentle light reflecting on the hood of my car. Opening the door, I gratefully sank into the driver's seat. Just a few more minutes, and I would finally be able to go home. However, the journey ahead was long. I longed to be in my cozy bed soon, so I decided to take a shortcut through the wooded area instead of the main road. The headlights only illuminated a small section of the road ahead from the impenetrable darkness, while massive black silhouettes of ancient trees loomed on either side. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a sharp movement to the left of the road. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light, but in the next moment, a huge shadow resembling a human figure darted across the road right in front of my speeding car. Afraid that I might have hit someone with the car, I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded with a screech, but somehow I managed to keep it on the road. My heart was pounding furiously, and a chilling horror spread through my chest. For some time I sat absolutely still, breathing heavily and trying to calm down. Then, mustering up my courage, I decisively opened the door and stepped outside, surveying with the help of a small flashlight. The trees looming over me cast eerie shadows, but I didn't notice anything else suspicious. In the end, attributing everything to wild fatigue, I started heading back to the car, but suddenly noticed some movement between the tree trunks again. This time my heart sank. There was indeed something there. Emerging from the darkness was a massive, hairy figure resembling a human, moving towards me. I was petrified, paralyzed, as this monstrous creature, seeming to embody primal terror, advanced towards me, emitting horrifying guttural sounds. Its face was completely hidden by thick hair, its eyes gleaming in the darkness, and its enormous hands with long, curved claws reaching out to me. It reminded me of a Bigfoot from old legends. Barely had I closed the door when this huge, hairy figure lunged across my car, standing right in the middle of the road, blocking my escape route. In a panic, I floored the gas pedal, but the creature didn't even flinch. With a horrendous crash, the car collided with the creature, knocking it down. A strong tremor ran through the car's body, and a chilling roar echoed behind. I didn't dare look back. My only desire was to get out of there as fast as possible. However, despite the heavy impact, the Bigfoot quickly got up and chased after the car. I pushed the gas pedal with all my might, but the distance between us was steadily decreasing. And suddenly, it made an incredible leap, landing right on the roof of my car. A deafening crash resounded, and the metallic roof instantly buckled under the monster's weight. Without hesitation, I sharply turned the wheel, trying to shake off the pursuer. But at such breakneck speed, the car skidded, veering off the road and crashing straight into a massive tree trunk. After a loud collision, everything around me blurred, and I blacked out. Upon regaining consciousness, I saw that my car was heavily dented, but fortunately I was almost unscathed. Gathering my strength, I got out, taking a flashlight and a cell phone. Looking around, I found no traces of the Bigfoot. It must have panicked and retreated into the depths of the forest after the crash. There was no signal in this area, so fully aware of the danger, I briskly walked along the road towards the nearest town. My neck ached treacherously from constantly scanning all directions, as the monster could leap at me from behind any tree. Finally, after half a mile, I managed to reach the rescue service and told them everything. To my great relief, the duty officer took my words quite seriously and immediately dispatched a patrol and an ambulance to my coordinates. The minutes stretched infinitely as I waited until soon the sounds of approaching vehicles with flashing lights were heard in the distance. Upon arrival, the officers quickly inspected the damaged car and provided me with first aid. After hearing my account in detail once more, they confirmed that there had indeed been reports of requests to survey the area recently, as people had found traces of inhuman proportions. Although I still feel completely bewildered and anxious after the horrifying experience, I'm glad that everything ended well in the end. Now, I have to undergo a medical examination, and the local authorities may shed light on this mysterious story. I do not know if I will ever encounter this creature again, but I'm certain that this night incident will forever remain in my memory. I left the bar late at night. I don't usually go to places like this, but my girlfriend's birthday made me break that rule. Feeling a little intoxicated and exhausted, I decided to catch a cab to get home safely. 5 minutes later, a car pulled up in front of me. After saying goodbye to my friends, I climbed into the back seat and gave the taxi driver an address. When the car started, I exhaled and relaxed. It was about half an hour's drive to the other side of town, and the car was rocking nicely, so I took a nap when I got comfortable. Woke up after a while under the noise of the radio switching. The taxi driver, an elderly man with a wrinkled face, sang something under his nose and gently tilted his head in the beat of the song. Having lost track of time, I took out my smartphone and froze, not believing my eyes. It turned out that the trip had lasted more than 2 hours. I felt my heart beat faster. I immediately had the depressing feeling that I'd gotten into a car with some maniac. Looking out the window, my fears were confirmed. Through the pitch dark, could see a dense forest. It made me want to cry, but I decided not to show my face, and I just asked the driver why we were going the other way. Instead of answering, he increased the volume of the radio and sang even louder. His face did not express any emotion at that moment. My breathing accelerated considerably. It was unbearably stifling in the car, and I started to lose consciousness from lack of oxygen. The attempt to open the door was unsuccessful. The door was closed. I started banging on the glass, trying to get the driver's attention, but he kept singing and ignoring me. There was no longer any power to hold my tears, so I leaned on my knees and put them in front of me. I panicked. The driver suddenly turned to a narrow road and stopped the car near a small hut surrounded by a wooden fence. The man got out of the car and headed for the trunk. An instant later, he was at the door on my side and opened it, holding a knife. "Come out slowly," he said, pointing a cold weapon at me. Sobbing under the watchful eye of the kidnapper, I got out of the car. The second my survival instincts started working, I started to ask out loud why we were here, who he was, and what he wanted from me. At one point I wanted to run away, but he grabbed me with a stranglehold and dragged me home. Suddenly a man appeared out of the darkness. He approached us unnoticed and hit the intruder on the head. He fainted and fell to the ground. I was shocked and couldn't say a word. The man approached me gently and asked me if I was all right. But my tear-swollen face and empty eyes made everything clear without words. The man dragged the intruder and sat him near a nearby tree, then put his hands behind his back so that they would wrap around the tree trunk and handcuff him. Now that the perp wasn't a threat and couldn't run away, the savior came up to me, put his father's arms around me, and led his car, which was nearby. On the way, he revealed that he was a private detective and that he had been hunting this criminal for several months. After putting me in the car and pouring me hot tea, the detective left briefly to call the police. After waiting for the police, he reported everything that had happened. The police asked me several questions, took contact details, and then released me. 20 minutes after the police arrived at the crime scene, we were on our way back to the city. A few days later, I found out that other women were tied up in the house the kidnapper was taking me to. I try not to mention what happened, but I still often see the wrinkled face of a mysterious taxi driver in my dreams.